is Nightline. I'm Brandon Wong. The top stories. Full cooperation from everyone imperative in curbing the spread of COVID-19. And Bank Negara grants 6-month grace period for loans. Good morning. Malaysia may end up like Italy if the public continues to flout the Movement Control Order, MCO, imposed to curb the spread of the COVID-19 infection. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah stressed that full cooperation from everyone in the country is imperative towards the success of various initiatives by the government in curbing the spread of the virus.
It depends on us now. I'm throwing back the question to you. If you follow our instruction, help Ministry of Health, help the government to stay at home, to break the chain on infection, then we have a small opportunity to break the transmission of the virus. But if we do not follow our instruction, despite whatever been done by Ministry of Health, the virus will continue to spread. So the choice now, the succeed or failure, is depend not only on Ministry of Health, but in each and every one of you. Well, we are trying to use the carrot first. I've been using the carrot for the last couple of weeks, but perhaps it is time for us to use the stick. So the choice is actually, the public.
At his daily media conference on Tuesday, the Health DG also said that one more death was reported due to COVID-19, bringing the total number of deaths so far to 15. The latest death was that of a 71-year-old Malaysian man from Malacca who was suspected to have had close contact with COVID-19 positive cases at the Tabligh cluster in a Sri Petaling mosque. A total of 106 new COVID-19 cases have been recorded in the last 24 hours, lower than Monday's record high of 212 people. This brings the total number of people infected with the deadly virus to 1,624 nationwide. At the same media conference, Dr. Nur Hisham also revealed that the Health Ministry has identified some 3,000 contract nurses and medical officers to help it deal with the COVID-19 outbreak in the country.
Kita dah ada kenal pasti seramai 3,000 staff, contohnya staff nurse yang telah pension dan akan kembali untuk membantu Kementerian Kesihatan. Jadi kita nama dah ada, tapi kita tengah dalam urusan untuk pengambilan staff tersebut.
He added that the ministry was planning to convert training centres or hostels into temporary wards to treat affected patients. The move would also provide an additional 3,000 beds for COVID-19 cases. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin on Monday announced that the government had agreed to set aside an additional allocation of 600 million ringgit to the Health Ministry to combat COVID-19. Of the total, 500 million ringgit is to purchase medical equipment such as ventilators, essential intensive care unit equipment, extra personal protection equipment for general medical staff and laboratory equipment for the screening of COVID-19. Stiffer action can be taken against those who defy the Movement Control Order, MCO. Senior Minister for the National Security Council Security Cluster, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the government is trying to identify areas that should be focused upon for further action that could be taken. At his daily media conference Tuesday, the senior minister said the government will come out with a standard operating procedure that is more detailed concerning areas of high risk or red zones.
Pihak polis mungkin akan mengubah cara mereka, bukan setakat nasihat tetapi tindakan undang-undang juga akan diambil kepada mereka yang menghalang penjawat awam dan juga yang masih berdegil dan gagal untuk mematuhi arahan ataupun nasihat yang dikeluarkan oleh pihak polis.
So far, 28 people have been arrested for defying the MCO. 695 investigation papers have been opened and 46 cases are under investigation since the order was enforced on March the 18th.
Jadi seperti saya pernah menyeru kepada semua, jangan sampai berlaku tindakan undang-undang yang dilakukan oleh pihak polis.
He also noted that the special committee looking into non-health related matters pertaining to COVID-19 was also informed that the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, had investigated 85 cases relating to fake COVID-19 news, with 6 individuals being charged in court.
Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri stressed that anyone who returned to their hometowns before or during the MCO should remain there and not come back to the cities. Police have set up roadblocks at 23 toll plazas along interstate highways nationwide to restrict the public from coming back to places of work or to their homes in the cities.
Di sekatan tersebut, pemandu-pemandu diminta untuk balik semula ke kampung masing-masing. Jadi saya rasa tidak perlulah sesiapa pun untuk meneruskan perjalanan ataupun merancang perjalanan untuk pulang ke tempat kerja ataupun kediaman masing-masing di bandar-bandar besar seperti Kuala Lumpur dan sebagainya, kerana pihak polis tidak akan membenarkan.
He pointed out that while the compliance rate towards the MCO has risen to 95% as of Tuesday, there has been an increase in the number of people returning to major cities. On Monday, a total of 1,029 roadblocks were conducted nationwide. Banking customers, including individuals and small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, will be allowed to delay their repayments of existing loans, including mortgages and hire purchases, for a period of 6 months. This is part of the central bank's new measures to assist borrowers experiencing temporary financial constraints due to the COVID-19 outbreak. In a statement to the heads of financial institutions on Tuesday, Bank Negara said the automatic moratorium will be effective from April the 1st. It said banking institutions should provide individuals and SME borrowers with adequate information on how the suspended loan or financing repayments will be treated during the moratorium period. The automatic moratorium is applicable to ringgit-denominated loans or financing that are not in areas exceeding 90 days as at April the 1st, 2020. Bank Negara, however, clarified that the moratorium does not apply to credit card balances. For outstanding credit card balances, Bank Negara said customers should be offered the option to convert the outstanding balances into term loans of not more than 3 years. For corporate borrowers, the central bank encouraged banking institutions to facilitate requests for a moratorium. Meanwhile, the government, through the Human Resources Ministry, has also agreed to expedite the payment of benefits to social security organizations, SOCSO contributors from March the 25th. Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan, in a statement on Tuesday, said this will be of assistance to about 300,000 recipients of invalidity or survivor's pension, dependent benefits, permanent disability benefits and service allowances. He said the early payment benefits will be undertaken over a 6-month period and are aimed at easing the burden faced by the contributors and their dependents. The minister also urged all contributors to contact SOCSO for further information. In the meantime, the Malaysian Employees Federation, MEF, is appealing to the government to bear 80% of the employees' salaries during the Movement Control Order, MCO. According to its Executive Director, Datuk Shamsuddin Badan, the government has the national reserves of more than 400 billion ringgit, which is more than enough to pay the salaries of the private sector employees. 4 days ago, the UK government announced it will pay 80% of salaries of up to 13,000 ringgit a month for those not working due to COVID-19 outbreak in an unprecedented economic rescue plan.
In an email interview with TV3, he said the directive that employers pay full wages and allowances during the MCO adds a lot of financial constraint on employers already under pressure due to COVID-19. If the policy of loading all the burden squarely on the employers continue, many businesses will soon be forced to wind up. Citing retailers as an example, they desperately need assistance to manage 3 big cost items, namely rentals, salary payment and payment of statutory contributions like EPF, SOCSO and EIS. Datuk Shamsuddin said the government can mediate between landlords and tenants to bring down the cost of rental and give tax rebates as an incentive. He also urged the government to declare the COVID-19 outbreak in Malaysia as equivalent to a force majeure, so that businesses can claim consequential loss from insurance companies if such a move is made. MEF proposes that both the individuals and corporate tax rates for 2020 be lowered to a maximum of 18%.
Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin on Tuesday accepted financial contributions and face masks from 5 corporate companies to the COVID-19 Relief Fund at Perdana Putra in Putrajaya. The contributions included 5 million ringgit in cash from 4 firms. Spanco, which was represented by its shareholder Tan Sri Robert Tan Hua Chun, who contributed 2 million ringgit. DRB Highcom was represented by its managing director, Datuk Sri Said Faisal Alba. MMC Group Managing Director Datuk Sri Sheikh Khalid Muhammad Noor and YTL Executive Chairman Tan Sri Francis Yeo, who contributed 1 million ringgit respectively. Apart from that, some 520 face masks were donated by Titijaya Land Berhad, which was represented by its Group Managing Director Tan Sri Lim Sun Peng. The total contribution to the fund stands at 8.125 million ringgit. The government had launched the COVID-19 Relief Fund to help those affected by the pandemic. A special chartered Malaysia Airlines flight is scheduled to fly to Bangladesh on Wednesday to bring 270 Malaysians there home. Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein said, as at 12 p.m. Tuesday, a total of 367 Malaysians were recorded to be in Bangladesh, of which 270 of them have agreed to be brought back to Malaysia.
Kesemua mereka akan dibawa pulang menggunakan sebuah pesawat sewa khas jenis Airbus 332 milik syarikat penerbangan Malaysian Airlines. Buat masa ini, kerajaan Bangladesh telah mengeluarkan jaminan akan memberi kebenaran khas kepada pesawat ini untuk mendarat serta berlepas daripada lapangan terbang antarabangsa Hazrat Shah Jalal, Dhaka.
The number of those currently in Bangladesh includes 219 students, 55 hospital Medan Malaysia staff at Cox's Bazar, 73 people who live and work in Bangladesh, including their family members, and 20 government servants with the Malaysian High Commission in Bangladesh and their families. The government, however, is asking 7 civil servants to remain working at the High Commission. And this just in, the death toll from the COVID-19 outbreak in Malaysia has risen to 16. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah, in his Facebook posting on Tuesday night, said the latest victim, case 1334, is a 75-year-old Malaysian man with multiple chronic disease. He died at the Kuala Lumpur hospital at 7:40 p.m. Tuesday. The cause of infection is still under investigation. In Kelantan, police are searching for a man believed to be the driver of a multi-purpose vehicle, MPV, which was used to transport illegal immigrants in Gua Musang. The driver fled from police after a wild chase that ended with the MPV crashing into a ditch. In the 11 a.m. incident, police were forced to fire 3 shots when the MPV refused to stop at a roadblock in Kampung Panggung Lalat at Tuesday. The driver of the MPV then led police on a chase before turning back after encountering more roadblocks. The incident eventually ended with police shooting out one of the MPV's tires, causing the driver to lose control before crashing into a ditch. Police then found 5 immigrants, 3 men and 2 women of Myanmar nationality in the car, with the driver missing, believed to have fled on foot. The immigrants have since been arrested for further investigation. The roadblocks was set up following the enforcement of the movement control order. After the break, Datuk Sri Najib's 1MDB trial to resume next month. Details when we return. Welcome back. The trial of former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Mohamad Najib Tun Razak on corruption and money laundering charges involving 2.3 billion ringgit in One Malaysia development, 1MDB funds, will resume on April the 1st. This provided there is no extension of the Movement Control Order MCO by the government. This was confirmed by Senior Deputy Public Prosecutor Datuk Sri Gopal Sri Ram, who leads the prosecution team in the trial. The trial, which was supposed to commence on March 19th, was adjourned as all courts in the country had to close in compliance with the MCO. When the hearing resumes, defence lawyer Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah is expected to continue with cross-examination of the 9th prosecution witness. Former 1MDB Chief Executive Officer Datuk Shahrul Azral Ibrahim Hilmi, who has been on the stand since September the 23rd last year. Datuk Sri Mohamad Najib faces 4 charges of abusing his position to obtain gratification totaling 2.3 billion ringgit in 1MDB funds and 21 counts of money laundering involving the same money. Meanwhile, the trial of former Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, who is facing charges of corruption, criminal breach of trust and money laundering involving funds from Yayasan Akal Budi, will commence on April the 13th. This was confirmed by Deputy Public Prosecutor Datuk Rosila Rajatoran, who leads the prosecution team in the trial. The proceeding, which was supposed to commence Monday, was postponed due to the closure of the courts in line with the MCO imposed by the government. The trial before High Court Judge Colin Lawrence Sequeira has been set at 9 a.m. on April the 13th. So far, the prosecution had called 43 witnesses to testify. Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid is facing 47 charges, with 12 of them involving criminal breach of trust, 8 for corruption and 27 for money laundering, involving tens of millions of ringgit of funds belonging to Yayasan Akal Budi. Still to come on Nightline, Britain put on lockdown for 3 weeks amid national emergency. On to our foreign segment. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Monday escalated the country's response to COVID-19 with a series of strict measures, including ordering Britons to stay at home, closing non-essential shops and telling people not to meet with friends or family. The new measures would be reviewed in 3 weeks and relaxed if possible.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home. If you don't follow the rules, the police will have the powers to enforce them, including through fines and dispersing gatherings.
The Prime Minister added that people would only be allowed to leave their homes to shop for basic necessities, exercise, for a medical need, to provide care, or travelling to and from work where absolutely necessary. The government will close all shops selling non-essential goods, including clothing stores, as well as other premises, including libraries, playgrounds and outdoor gyms, and places of worship. Britain's lower house of parliament is expected to approve emergency legislation, giving authorities sweeping powers to tackle the outbreak, including the right to detain people and put them in isolation to protect public health. Advice to stay at home and avoid social gatherings went unheeded by millions at the weekend, who took advantage of sunny weather to flock to parks and beauty spots, ignoring instructions to stay 2 meters apart. Deaths from the virus in Britain jumped to 335 on Monday as the government said the military would help ship millions of items of personal protective equipment, PPE, including masks, to healthcare workers who have complained of shortages. Thailand will be in an emergency mode from March the 26th for 1 month to deal with the COVID-19 coronavirus outbreak. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha told a news conference on Tuesday the emergency decree would mean that the Prime Minister will have executive power to declare further measures to contain the virus, including giving extra authority to officials and allowing the setting up of checkpoints to reduce movement. He, however, said details of the measures will be announced later. Thailand on Tuesday reported 3 deaths and 106 new coronavirus cases. The country now has 827 cases and 4 fatalities since the outbreak began. Scientists in Singapore say they have developed a way to track genetic changes that accelerates testing of vaccines against the coronavirus that has killed more than 16,000 people worldwide. The scientists at the city-state's Duke NUS Medical School said their technique needs just days to evaluate potential vaccines provided by Arcturus Therapeutics, an American biotech firm the school has partnered with for the trials. That time frame compares with the months usually required for testing based on human responses. The outbound travel restriction for central China's Wuhan city, the worst-hit Chinese city by COVID-19, will be lifted on April the 8th as the pandemic continues to ease in the region. According to local health authorities, starting from April the 8th, Wuhan residents will be allowed to travel outside the city and the province, and the city's outbound transportation will resume in an orderly manner. Travel restrictions for other cities in the province will be lifted on March the 25th. Indonesia on Tuesday confirmed 107 new COVID-19 cases, the biggest daily increase to date in the country, bringing the total number of cases to 686. 7 more people had died of the disease as of Tuesday, bringing the total number of deaths to 55. So far, 30 other people had recovered from the virus. Before we wrap up this edition of Nightline, let's take a look at what has been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers for Wednesday, March the 25th. The New Straits Times focuses on concern over the frontliners fighting COVID-19, while the nation's best-selling Malay newspaper, Harian Metro, highlights a report on a cry for prayers from all Malaysians for the frontliners and COVID-19 patients. Berita Harian, meanwhile, underlines Malaysia's request for Chinese medical experts. Lastly, the Malaysian Reserve's lead story reports on unconventional measures needed during extraordinary times. Be among the first to get your copies. The most popular section of the Great Wall of China, Bataling, has recently, or rather has partially reopened to visitors on Tuesday after a 2-month closure due to the coronavirus outbreak. Let's take a look as we wrap up Nightline this time around. I'm Brandon Wong. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and please stay at home.